This video I want to speak about the alpha personality and narcissism and the relation between the two. I've been reading a lot of articles in the past about narcissistic personalities and dealing with those types of personalities while I'm running the school, meeting different people that come through with that personality and the challenges of that, and just also in relationships in general. And it's a personality that I don't have much care for, but at the same time, this world is kind of pushing towards that type of personality in which to take a lot of leadership roles, have an immense amount of influence over the people. So it's like, to me, usually I think what it is like the alpha personality. Like if somebody is narcissistic, they definitely have an alpha male personality, and is basically the people that have a lot of power, and they love the power, and they'll do whatever it takes to keep the power. They'll do whatever it takes to get to power, and they almost have no rules or regulations to put themselves in check. Sometimes people will follow the law, and then that's the furthest extent that they'll go. But then the way that they present their energy, it's in this way of where you're willing to do whatever it takes to get the power or to remain in power, and it's like cutthroat. And typically most of the people that are in power in this world have that type of personality, that type of narcissistic personality. And if they are alphas, or they could be an alpha and then they're not narcissistic, but they're just alphas. So they're just like strong leaders, and they might not have that type of personality that is unhealthy, where it gets to the extreme of narcissism. So what it is just basically understanding how if you don't put that energy like under control, that it turns into narcissism. And the funny thing is, there are a lot of articles that speak against that personality, the narcissism disorder, but then yet the world cherishes and values the people who've gotten the power with that disorder. So really, I think it's more about finding out what is truly the healthy way, that is not imbalanced through a disorder of like thinking too highly of yourself, and where it's all about you and nobody else in this world matters. There's no empathy, there's no compassion, there's no like working together, and the balance to me is the Sigma personality, where you're a leader when you need to be a leader, but then when it's not your time, then you allow somebody else to lead, where you recognize somebody else's gifts and talents in a certain area, and you're able to follow if you need to. But then if there are situations where you need to lead, you will lead. Where rather with somebody who's narcissistic, they think that they know everything, and everything has to go their way no matter what. And that's not the right approach, so I feel like everybody in this world will always have a little bit of each personality in them, no matter if it's the beta or the alpha. But majority of people will be the beta, where they follow, and they're just used to following. And then you got those strong alphas who are just naturally born leaders. But when they get unhealthy with their style of leadership, and they kind of get overconsumed with this power, then it could turn into narcissism, which is not good. And then you got the sigmas who they're in between. Like they could be strong leaders when they need to be, but then they could also be great followers when they know that they're following somebody who is worth following. And it's like a blending of the alpha and the beta into harmony. Rather, beta is basically more one-sided into just extreme following, which is, if that's how you're born to be and that's who you are, then that's fine. But I think at that point it's important to follow the right leader, so then you are going in the right direction. So and then there will always be those alphas that will seek to gain a huge following, to accumulate as many betas as they can, so it could put themselves in a better position to have influence over people or the world. And then the sigmas are the ones who don't really care to build a huge following. It's if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It doesn't really matter to them. Like, they don't seek for power. They don't care for it. But if it happens, then they'll do what they need to do. So sigmas are the balance, and sigmas can be great leaders. Alphas could be great leaders, or as long as they don't turn into the narcissistic personality type or disorder or whatnot. So it's the alphas and the sigmas that are gonna be the great leaders. Like, the narcissism is almost representing the imbalance of the extreme alpha, like too far on the spectrum of being like too much self-importance, and that whole idea of arrogance. Sigmas are more just self-confident, like true self-confidence. And it's hard for sigmas and alphas sometimes to get along, because alphas tend to want to build their own following, and alphas tend to want to kind of use the people around them to build up themselves. So if an alpha is trying to use a sigma to build up themselves, then it could disrupt the relationship between the two, because then the alpha could be fighting over the power and to kind of in a way try to turn the sigma into a beta. And when the sigma sees this going on, then the relationship between the two no longer will be beneficial for the sigma. So it's not really good for the sigma to be involved with the alpha in that situation. So usually alphas will operate independently, just like alphas will usually not get along with other alphas because they're both trying to be the primary leader, and you can't have two primary leaders. There can only be one. So the alphas don't get along with other alphas, and then the alphas don't really get along with the sigmas. So then you got alphas that are trying to influence a lot of betas, and they're going to put a lot of energy to seek out these betas to build their following. And then you got the sigmas who will, who will find betas to work with and to build with, but they don't necessarily seek them out the way that the alphas will. So usually alphas will have a greater following of betas than a sigma would, because a sigma basically lets it happen more naturally and more organically in order to build a following through time with quality, through a genuine relationship based on mutual respect and trust. Alphas, on the other hand, they push towards amassing a huge following regardless of quality.